Are you counting hours? I'm definitely counting hours because that's what we have here. Counting hours with the debut album called The Wheel. Now, in case you have absolutely no idea what this style or genre is to begin with, well, let me drop a couple of names that should give you a little bit of indication of what's going on here. You should know at least the Swedish melancholic melodic metal name Katatonia, and you might be also familiar with the Finnish, also kind of a doomy, deathy, melodic, melancholic name Rapture. If you don't know neither of those bands, this album is not probably for you, but who knows? This is very, very well done, well executed, melodic, and even somewhat catchy. So, counting hours debut here, let's take a look at the band's metal archives while I'll tell you a little bit of this band. Now, as you know, this is a very, very new band. I mean, they started 5 years ago, let's be honest about it. Nobody has basically heard about them since that. I mean, there's only one demo out, and all there is prior to this debut album, there's really nothing much to talk about. Unless you take a look at the band's lineup, which then again is more interesting considering that they have quite a few familiar names here. Samili Köykkä being the drummer. He has quite a few bands, which some of them are more or less active. Jarno Saloma and Tomi Ulgren, both guitarists, are actually known for Rapture. And, well, quite a few other bands, namely mentioned Impel Nazarene, Shape of Despair, so forth. And these other guys, Markus Förström, bassist, and Ilpo Vaasala doing the vocals here, both known from The Chant. So all these guys are no newbies, but rather more or less kind of veterans of the genre. And more interestingly, because I mentioned this Rapture thing here, the kind of a bind, it's binding these two bands together because, I mean, the two guitarists have the Rapture background, and one could even say this is kind of the next step after Rapture. It's not essentially the same band, obviously, because, I mean, you have different vocalists and other members, but having two guitarists who were playing guitars, you know, also in Rapture, kind of defines how Counting Hours is sounding. I mean, all the melodies, all the melancholic vibes, and the general feeling with the album, I mean, it's very, very Rapture-like. Now, to the differences whatsoever, because, I mean, obviously they are the thing we're to talk about, The Wheel. Now, The Wheel is probably a little bit closer to Katatonia. I mean, it's more, say, approachable, somewhat more lighter and less kind of a death metallic-like than what Rapture was. And I'm saying was because the band hasn't really been active. I don't know if it ever officially disbanded, but the thing here is Rapture definitely had this kind of a bind. Ooh. I'm confused here. What I'm trying to say here is that they definitely had this binding between the death metal, the more melodic death metal, and the kind of a melancholic doomy part, but not exactly the slow doom, not exactly death metal as kind of a traditional way, but more like melodic metal with some kind of a death metal layer there. I mean, there were growly vocals and all that stuff, but still kind of a different genre. And The Wheel is somewhat lighter, definitely. I wouldn't say it's kind of a rock. I mean, it's definitely metal, but considering that now these growly vocals are more like a seasoning on the top of these clean vocals, and their overall sound is somewhat easier. This could be said it's like the little brother to Rapture, and definitely closer to Katatonia. And to be honest, these guitar works are doing just great here. I mean, the production is very, very solid, which then again complement the catchy riffs here. But melodies are the ones that either stick to you or not. And that is kind of the defining factor with the whole album here. I mean, if you are allergic to melodic metal, there's no reason why you would even go for Counting Hours. But I think there is definitely something really, really interesting happening here. However, since this is the debut album, it seems like the band is a little bit just, kind of trying out whatever works and whatever not. And as such, in my opinion, it's kind of like step backward compared to what Rapture was going with. And compared to Katatonia, I mean, they have years and years kind of a head start comparing to this band. So while they're definitely trying to tackle the same problems with the same kind of set of resolve, I guess, I mean, it's still having what you have so-called debut album dilemma. I mean, you're trying to define it so hard yourself that sometimes you kind of don't see the trees from the woods or the woods from the trees, whatever ways you want to see the proverb going. Now, all about my messy commentation here, I'm trying to basically sum it up here in a brief way. Very, very nicely executed melodies with good production, good vocals, and in my opinion, even more so, these clean vocals are better than the growly vocals. The growly vocals aren't even mandatory have, in my opinion, but I guess it's kind of legacy of Rapture and maybe to some degree also Katatonia. So I keep dropping these names all over again because I don't think there is even better kind of a point where to refer this band to than these two, because they really give you a nice idea, a little bit clue what's going on with this album as well. So with this information, I think you should check it out. Definitely an interesting debut album, already out since October 23rd, 2020. So go for it. Go take a listen. Go take a look. And I think it's enjoyable album. A good start for a new band. Let's hope they will be keeping it improving. That's all. Take care. Bye-bye.